And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Tuesday, June 26th. I'm your host for today's program, Paul DeMain, and many of the stories we read here can also be found at our websites at IndianCountryNews.com and IndianCountryTV.com. And here are some of the news stories for the day. First of all, I want to make a correction on the name of the Ojibwe interpreter at the Nagaji-Winung language camp. His name is Ted Atatise, and I apologize for that. Well, the money is rolling and people are already spending it. There are 3 separate settlements that are coming due to Indian Country, and here's a bit of guidance for those who are already spending it in their head. Number 1 is a $1 billion settlement set aside in March with 44 tribes having to do with mismanagement of resources. In Minnesota, several tribes are entitled to those settlement funds, including the Leech Lake Ojibwe, who will receive $3 million, the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, who will receive $1.9 million, and the Bois Forte, who will receive $1 million. In the Wisconsin area, Lakota will receive $8 million, Lac de Flambeau $5 million, and Bad River $3 million. Out in North Dakota, Spirit Lake will receive $6 million, and Standing Rock will receive $48.9 million. And those are just those tribes in those regions. There are other tribes, 44 altogether, that will get into that settlement. This is the money being distributed now and is entirely allocated to the tribes unless otherwise designated. Some tribes and their general councils have voted to distribute per capita. Others have designed a split between per capita and investment and or debt retirement. There's also a $1 billion court order claim called Rama, named after the Navajo chapter who initiated the lawsuit, in which millions in underfunded BIA-authorized program administration monies must be paid to the tribes at 100% rather than the 72 to 92% rate that they were paid at, leaving the tribes having to allocate their own money for the administration of BIA-approved related programs. 322 tribes were part of that case, in which the Supreme Court just ruled in their favor this month. And the third is Cobell. This is the $3.4 billion settlement that has 2 components: the tribes and individual holders of IIM, or individual Indian money accounts. The deadline for participating in the IIM portion of the settlement has passed. Those holding an IIM account will receive a one-time payment of $1,000 each. After that, there are formulas based on historic payments, acres, those kinds of formulas that will bring additional payout amounts to those with larger easements and trust management benefits. You can go to IndianTrust.com/index for additional information on the settlement formulas. On May 22nd, 2012, appeals of the Cobell decision were turned down, and pending any further appeals, it is expected that those payments to individuals listed in the claim and tribes shall be made this year yet. And you can get information again at that Cobell Trust Settlement at IndianTrust.com. The mother of a 4-year-old boy reported missing from the Saginaw Chippewa Reservation at Mount Pleasant, Michigan Reservation said June 25th she is holding out hope that he'll be found safe as additional searches were planned. Jamie Chamberlain, 21, told the Associated Press that her son, Carnell Chamberlain, was being cared for by her boyfriend at her home near Mount Pleasant when the child disappeared June 21st. She said that when she got home from work that night, her boyfriend, who regularly spent time with her and her child, told her Carnell wasn't there. Authorities plan to regroup and expand the search after search teams, the FBI, police dogs, and more than 100 volunteers scoured the area this weekend through June 25th. According to the Saginaw Chippewa tribal spokesperson, Frank Clatour. Crews on Sunday also searched ponds at a wastewater treatment plant near the child's home, but nothing significant was found, he said. Representatives have reported that the mother's 20-year-old boyfriend initially had not been cooperating with authorities, but was described as minimally cooperative on June 24th when search warrants were issued against him. Representatives of Wisconsin tribes concerned with housing programs funded with tax credits by the Wisconsin Housing and Economic Development Authority met at the Lakota Ojibwe Reservation today to discuss with them major changes in funding points and tax credit scoring that tribal representatives felt would shut Wisconsin tribes out from receiving millions in housing, rehab, and building projects, with new regulations that favor low-income housing and apartments for poor workers in places like Marionette, Wisconsin, in order to accommodate a growing shipping industry and their housing needs. Further complicating the problem was Governor Scott Walker's appointed executive director of WHEDA, as it is known, Wyman Winston, who spoke earlier this month at a meeting in response to questions of why the changes were made without consulting tribes, and his reply that we don't want new homes in crappy neighborhoods, and that investors didn't want to invest in these types of projects, which all exacerbated the situation. Winston has since apologized for the comment and said his comments were misconstrued and he had no intention of offending anyone. Changes in the point system took a 30% set aside for preservation and rehabilitation of current low-income housing and changed it to 10% while scoring extra points for walking distances and closeness to public transportation, job sites, and commercial zones, while also reducing scoring in half for the lowest income areas. WHEDA officials, State Representative Janet Bewley, and tribal officials from out the state took part in that dialogue.
But it needs to be kept in mind that we're not just rehabbing houses. We are putting people to work. We are creating a market for others. And it just doesn't make sense to me that, and maybe this is the reason, maybe because we've been successful, maybe we've had our share and we don't need it anymore. Maybe that's the thinking, and that's unfortunate.
And that is another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. We want to say miigwech for joining with us and come back again soon.